Alright, so I'm not sure how this video is going to go. I originally planned on doing one of these once a month for every month in order to continue the rules updates on Urban Arcana. But that didn't end up going the way I planned on it, considering it is now the end of November. And I put more work than I thought about it into other projects and things like that. So we are now here trying to just kind of keep all of this stuff put together and trying to get back to a semblance of posting regular content. I have been streaming, so that is still around, but like it's only part of the issue of things getting in the way. But regardless, let's get into what I've been up to with this project and kind of what's involved in the updates. So first things first, techs are being renamed to systems. This is just kind of an arbitrary change, but I felt that it was necessary because calling them techs just felt wrong. And I couldn't figure out why, and naming them systems just feels better. I don't know what it is about it, but it just feels like a nicer name. In addition, we now have 3 defined types of systems that players can access, similar to Magic, how it's cast into 3 types: Veil, Arcane, and Occult. Techs have Hackers, which are offensive debuffs and trap type situations. Security types, which are defensive buffing abilities, along with like temporary HP, boosts to armor, stuff like that. And Bombardment, which is your weapons kind of category, similar. It's kind of the Arcane equivalent, where you're doing guns, missiles, lasers, mixed damage type dealer sort of thing. Spells, as I said, have been refined to 3 types. We've removed Divine as so Arcane is now a short to mid-range damage dealer. Occult is based on summoning and curses, so mostly debuffs, but similar to security type, or hacking type, but more focused on dealing with anti-magic, anti-security. Whereas security is anti-magic, magic is anti-security or anti-tech. Veil is illusions, barrier bypassment, misdirection-based effects, movement, stuff like that. Stamina abilities are now in the game. They've been put into weapons, so now you can use stamina for your things like weapon arts, masteries, stuff like that, and they all have a purpose. Weapon categories, there are 24 of these things, and I feel like it's a little too much. So that might change in the near future. There might become more, there might become less. We'll see. But I don't particularly have a match for where I want the weapons to end up. Like, if I look at the rules document and I go like, oh my gosh, there are so many of these things. Yeah, there 24 is a lot. I can't even view all of it on one page. So all the weapons range from 1d4 damage to a total of, I believe the highest amount is 1d12 damage. The only weapon that does 2 damage dice are firearms and flails. I don't think there's any others that do multiple. I guess polearms do have 2 options for attacks, but that's like a whole separate thing. In addition, on top of weapons having been given categories, there's a bunch of status effects, skills, weapon tags, things like that. It's all kind of run through everything in the basic sense right now. To finish off what has been added, status effects have mostly been given all of their effects. Some have been added. Exhaustion effect, especially, and the penalties associated with it, similar to D&D, have been added, and they actually have a tangible effect on the game. Weapon masteries is a thing, so similar to 5th edition and Pathfinder and stuff like that. I wanted there to be like if you specialize in a certain weapon, you could get a special buff, and that's sort of what I did. It's not perfect. The system definitely needs some adjustments and things like that. If I go down to weapon masteries, where are they? Yeah, I have one for for most weapons, not every weapon. I think there's a few still that I need to put in, but yeah, they are definitely being added and continuing to being added. It's just kind of slow working out not only unique abilities for every weapon, but also just a mastery that makes sense to the weapon and isn't too busted. Skills are now, more skills are added. Skills are basically weapon arts, ashes of war, similar type things. I'm only going to add like a basic one for each weapon right now. That's kind of the plan, is just a basic indoor unsheath type situation, like something that you can't change on the weapon right now. I haven't worked out a system for doing that, but they will definitely be involved. So all of the weapon damages in the game and the skills for it are being set up, which covers most of weapons. Tags are being added, which are basically just like gonna be a way you can categorize weapons. Like maybe, for example, a weapon is, and if I go to weapon tags, where is it here? Nope, that's spells. That's not where I want to go. Hold on here. Where did I have it? Oh, here we go. So for example, serrated weapons, they make a saving throw against your stamina save, and if they fail, they gain a stack of bleed, which bleed triggers not quite like Elden Ring or other Souls-like games, more along the lines of there's an effect that goes off kind of like poison, but you can stack it, and the more stacks you have, the worse things get. Similar to, it's kind of how I've built exhaustion, is you can have so many effects and then they stack and activate at different times, stuff like that. Blunted weapons do bludgeoning damage instead of regular damage. So let's say if you really want to use great swords, but you want to not use slashing damage, you want to build a bludgeoning build, you can do that by getting your weapon a blunt version of a sword, or maybe you get like a sort of grafted weapon type, just something that does physical damage and is a blunt type weapon, is just gonna become bludgeoning damage. I guess I don't know why I had to make that so complicated. Sharpened weapons deal slashing damage instead of their normal type. Pointed weapons do piercing damage. It's the same thing, it's just made a version for each. I am making a tag for every damage type, which are in the game. We do have damage types now. If I go up here, nope, not up there. Where's damage types? What do you mean I didn't? No, I have damage types. Where did they go? Oh, here we go. So yeah, we have your basic striking, bludgeoning, like strike, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, fire, lightning, magic, poison, radiant, necrotic, acid. Those are the damage types I've kind of set up, and I think that's good enough for a basic set. I don't think I need anything further. Psychic damage might be added depending on kind of how things go, but for now it's kind of off the table. In addition, there's, let's see here, rending weapons, which are, which force you to get a stack of rend, which rend is sort of like armor piercing. Armor piercing temporarily lowers your, if you have the armor piercing condition or you have the armor piercing effect, you lower, your armor is affected. So if you have the armor piercing effect, your armor is temporarily lowered. If you have the rending effect, it's a permanent decrease until you remove the stacks. So if I go to status effects, and I go to rending, where is it here? Rend, yeah. So if I just read it off here, while the target has rend, it loses 1 armor for each stack. At the end of each of it, oh sorry, armor piercing's not the, I got those backwards. Rending is one that you can remove. They make an agility or endurance save to remove a stack of rend at the end of each of their turns. Whereas with armor piercing, it stacks like rending, but you have to actually spend downtime to remove a stack. You can remove a certain amount of stacks. I haven't determined a number yet. Maybe a random number roll +1 based on a check you make at the end of downtime, depending on how you acquired that armor piercing. I might remove that because I don't know if I like the system of having 2 armor affecting status effects. I might make one evasion based and one stay as is. We'll see. But for now, it's in a stable condition where I think it works for what I need it to, and this should be fine. Moving on to, I guess it's the last of the changes, but moving on to kind of the future plans. While I'm adding spells, tech, systems, and other sort of things, I do want to, again, kind of reach out to the community and say, like, hey, if you have any suggestions for abilities, while I don't have a template in place, I will eventually be releasing a sort of copy that can be used, modified, whatever, and you can suggest things off that. It won't be available yet. I want to get a little more in place before I release that, like, sort of play test or anything like that. So that's kind of the plan, is just kind of get it to a playable state, which has been the plan the whole time, and then go for, like just the basics and expand from there. So with that in mind, I'm going to jump over to a little bit of a lore blurb that I've been working on, specifically in regards to a couple things. I had to go and pull it up here, but I will be right back. Okay, so I am very quickly going to just mention something I forgot to mention in the previous section. There was a update to weapons that I never mentioned, specifically in the fact that weapons weren't powerful enough and they were being very outclassed by spells, which, while I know that I didn't want to make weapons too powerful, I think I did the opposite and made them very underpowered, which is not helping the situation. So weapons in the version now have a little bit higher damage, and they are unable to, or they're more able to actually affect people. Sorry, I'm getting this backwards. But the original problem was, if you invested enough into large armor, you ended up completely nullifying the need to fight because people couldn't hurt you. Yeah, they could hit you, but doing damage wasn't possible. It had to be passive effects like non-reduced armor. I had to have constant ability to do armor piercing or rending, which armor piercing has been removed. I'm reworking that system entirely to be a little more fair and a little more balanced, as well as being applied to items, not people. So there's that. And, just yawned there, holy. But the difference with what I was doing before and what I'm doing now is a lot better, and the weapons actually are capable of holding their own and being significant in combat, which I think is what I wanted to do, but we'll have to see how the playtests go and stuff like that. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention that before the next segment, because I forgot about it, but yeah, we'll see in a second. So now that I've gotten everything out of the way for updates to the game, let's talk about a little bit of the lore on, I guess not really lore, I kind of want to talk about something a little different today. I want to talk about project scope and where I want to take this project. which is kind of a hard topic for me because I'm not, up for a long time I wasn't really sure what I was going to do for this project and how I wanted to continue it. At one point I even considered dropping it, just letting it fade into obscurity because I didn't have any desire to continue it. But I realized that even though... Oops. Sorry, knocked my mic over. But I realized that even though I didn't want to continue it, I still set out to make a goal in that even if it wasn't the best game out there, it was still going to be my game, and it was still going to be a first attempt at something. And even if I came back to it, even if I restarted, even if I remade it from the ground up another time, I wanted to make sure that I had a baseline, a finished product, something to work with. And because of that, I knew that I had to continue, no matter what really happened. Oh boy, this is what I get for recording this late at night. But I knew that no matter what happened, no matter what I did, I wanted to make sure that this game was the best it could possibly be for what I had available to me. My understanding of games, my knowledge, all of that sort of thing, as I got to a point where I was much better at this. Even if I'm still learning, even if I'm still developing, I'm learning a lot about my development process and how I like to do things that is leading to a better result. And even if that makes it a little difficult, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that we can definitely get somewhere and I can definitely make things better. And that even applies to other projects like the modding that I've been doing for Minecraft recently, or the Subnautica project where I took a different approach, where I went into the game on a creative world. Just taking that different approach has changed how I view my process and my work, and I think that's a good thing. And I want to try and talk about that a little bit, about how this game has changed, both in a measure of the scope and a measure of where I believe it's going to go. And I think that's what this video is going to kind of be dedicated to, rather than lore or mechanics, which I think is a good thing for now. We are going to be discussing that for a bit. So to start with, where did this game start and where do I want it to end? And I've talked about this before. This game was a lot of years in the making. If I really trace it back to when I first started making or playing D&D, this is what I envisioned it to be. A game that you could make up whatever the hell you wanted, and you could build this giant, endless, sprawling story. And in the sense, D&D is that, but it wasn't exactly that. It's a little different, and knowing that now has definitely changed my view on how to make games and make campaigns and stuff like that. I remember when I first started playing D&D, I had pieces of cardboard that I drew maps on, and then would take those maps and stick them all together and make this giant sprawling dungeon that I tried to play in. And it worked. It definitely worked. Wasn't great. It definitely needed some work, and I know that it could be better. And so I put it together, and it was that. And it was just, that was how I played D&D back then. Now, it's a little more structured, a little more put together. It's a little more like other people would play D&D. But I wanted to take that original approach, that look of, this is how I want a system to be played. I want you to do as much as you want, as little as you want, and still be able to play the game. And I think I've expanded past that initial thought process. I've expanded into something of, I want to make something unique. I want to make something me. And I believe I'm getting there. I don't believe that it's the perfect result. I believe that it's definitely got some flaws. I can see some flaws. And I know that it's going to eventually get better. But they can't get better if I don't practice, if I don't try, if I don't work on it. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to not stop until I complete it, even if it's not a good product, even if no one plays it. I think it's good to get the system out there. Get some people thinking, get some ideas going. Maybe someone takes my system and builds something crazy out of it. Maybe someone actually enjoys my system. Maybe it becomes incredibly popular, but I'm going to keep my hopes for it gets out there, it gets seen, and people maybe have some compliments on it. That's my goal. My goal is just to get it out there. And even if that's not going to make it a good game, it's going to make it my game, and it's going to be where I want to start. Now, if we're talking about the concept of this is where I want to take the game, I imagine the game to be sort of like Elden Ring. And that's a really big statement, considering how big and more importantly, how much content there is in a game like Elden Ring. And while I could just take the Dark Souls system, adapt it a little bit, and call it a modern fantasy, I don't think that's where I want to go. For starters, Elden Ring only accounts for a small amount of things that I want it to account for. And while it has a lot of systems and things I want to adapt, it's definitely not perfect for what I need. So while Elden Ring is an inspiration for it, it's only one of many. Like I've said before, I've talked about Percy Jackson, Harry Potter, other games like D&D, Lancer, all sorts of stuff like that. All of those are inspirations, and all of those I want to influence this game in some way in order to make it the best game that I can make. And it's going to take time. I could be at this for years. I've already been at it for a couple years. And I don't know how long it's going to take to improve it to a point where it's going to be playable, or heck, even if it's going to ever be released, but it's definitely going to get there. And I know it's going to get there because I want it to get there. And so I think that's a good takeaway from this video. Even if you don't take away any of the information I've said, just take away this. Even if it doesn't get out there in the best state, get it out there. Get it into a spot that's workable, and then make it look good. Make it possible, rather than make it immediate perfect. And talking on that, I think if we're looking towards the future, what I want this game to be in the future is, at least from a development standpoint, I want it to be playable by summer next year. I think that's a good place to target for, even if it's not complete, even if I have to make some balance changes, some upgrades, some changes to the base game to make it just in general better, then so be it. But if I have to make it where I don't have that done by summer, I feel like I've failed. And not failure in a, I can't finish this project, I've got a 0, I have to scrap it. More of a failure of, I'm trying to make myself accountable. And I think that's a good thing, that I'm trying to do that. But getting back on topic, other things I want to develop for this game are going to be a variety of spells and systems. I want to make a proper weapon upgrade system where you can upgrade your weapons into magic and system-based strategies, where you can have technologically enhanced weapons or magically enhanced weapons. Armor sets, various items. I want to start introducing not archetypes like classes, but more varied and adjustable skill trees and skill sets. I think I'm going to take a look at the Pokemon games and see how they did it, because they have a very interesting system where you don't have one, you're not locked into a class the way D&D locks you into a class. And I think maybe structuring it around putting together maybe not full classes but related skill trees of skills and abilities might be interesting. And while it might not be immediate, that's definitely where I want to kind of aim for, is starting to focus in on a structure. How do I want to organize this? How do I want to set up character creation? How do I want to set up building a person? How do I want to make a person in this world realistic? And I think that's going to be where I aim for, where I'm starting to focus in on a narrow aspect and working in small sprints to try and complete that aspect, or at least get close to before I start the next sprint. So with that in mind, what's the immediate setup? First things first, systems and spells need to be expanded heavily. Features need to be expanded, weapons need to be finished tweaking and working on, balancing. Second is I need to work out proper combat rules. Combat rules right now are you can take 3 actions, and these are some of the actions you can take. which don't work too well. Like, it doesn't account for things like how do you apply enemies stuff? How do you apply this? How do you apply spell effects? How do lingering effects work? How do environmental hazards work? What does the battlefield look like? How do you apply vertical terrain? How does flight work? Just a few basic examples of what could be possible. And from there, I want to work on character options. Besides spells and systems and abilities, I want to work on specifically features and the character sheet, which, while it's currently pretty good, it's not perfect, and I think that's definitely needing to be adjusted. I want to make a version of the character sheet that fits onto 1 to 2 pages, and then from there you can expand it. But right now it's not anywhere near close to done. It's also very bare bones. So those are kind of the 3 core areas I'm looking at right now. The features and abilities kind of section, the character sheet, and the narrow focus on those smaller sprints. As for lore is still on the back burner. I plan on adjusting and doing more with it, but I still haven't figured everything out yet. So I want to try and maybe get a lore document properly. Oh boy, this is what I get for recording so late. Yeah, but I want to have a lore document ready to go, at least in the basic sense where you can take it and run with it, rather than having nothing and you have to build everything from the ground up, which, yeah, is a large ask. Building a whole world is really difficult, especially even though I'm taking just modern Earth and changing it a little bit, it's still very difficult to work out what exactly I want to do there. And so with that, I think that kind of wraps up everything I wanted to talk about in this video. For the foreseeable future, I'll be streaming. I will be working on specifically another video relating to Urban, and I will be talking about potentially getting the playtest at least prepped. The next video will definitely be more on lore, more on the world, and I'll try to put together some information to work with. We'll see how things go, but for now, I'm gonna sign off for today. I have been Tiny Dice Thief, and I will see you later. Hey, so editing me here, I wanted to quickly just talk about what the future plans were for the channel and some things, because there's some things that are going to change. Right now, it's not anything major, but I'm in the middle of final exams. So for a little bit, things are going to slow down. I might not even stream depending on how things go, because between work and studying and the exams I have to take, it's not going to go perfectly well. So, as well, things go, things might change, but as it stands, we're going to be going off the assumption that streams will be happening every Sunday and then nothing else until probably New Year's, until I can work out what my new schedule looks like. And then when it comes to video projects and things that I'm working on, that's a little bit of a weird subject. Besides the work that I'm doing now and final exams, I haven't been particularly working on anything major in the background, but I do have a couple ideas in the works. I do want to come in with a lore video at some point for Urban Arcana, and potentially work on a couple other projects, such as the modding stuff, such as the couple of the games I've been working on and playing through on the channel. I want to try out some new stuff. I've got a bunch of games in the backlog that need to be played, but we'll see. At some point I will get to them, but we have to work out exactly kind of where I'm taking the channel from here, because I do want to stick with the current plan. But again, we have to work on things like video editing, making projects, whatever things I desire to actually work on, because this channel's for fun. Like, I'm just having fun with it. I'm not particularly working towards being the next big name. So with that in mind, I want to quickly talk about a couple of the video projects I've had in mind. So first off is a lore video. This is going to be a general in-depth lore video on the world of Urban Arcana. I want to take it from just like the few blurbs I've taken out of other videos and turn it into a longer form content piece on what exactly the world is, how it's changed, a full-on script, editing, pictures, whatever. Everything's got to be in there. But I'm still learning Blender, so it's not going to be immediately complete yet. So I don't know exactly when it's going to come out. It might take a few months, it might take a year or so, but I definitely want to try and finish it. With that in mind, though, a couple of the smaller projects are, I want to take a video out to... how do I put this? I want to take a video out to just work on urban, like, as a concept. I want to work on structure and stats and things. Maybe if I could get a game going and stream it for just recording purposes and stuff like that. But who knows? We'll see. It's not set in stone where I want to go with these video projects. They're kind of just a list of concepts right now. And we'll see. It's definitely possible that I might change this. I might not. I might do a couple of things, but we'll see. Now, with the channel itself, there's going to be definitely a lull in video content for a week or two because of finals and Christmas season being pretty big right now. I have no way to get work off. I have no way to get around finals, so I should really not do this while tired, because holy crap, I have barely been able to function today. And anyway, with the intent here being, I want to keep streaming, but there may be a few days I have to miss stream, not only due to work, but due to final exams. And so because of that, I don't know exactly when or where I'll be streaming next. Another final kind of piece I want to talk about in regards to scheduling for the channel is, well, I found out I can potentially take my schooling a different direction without going into a different field. And that means I can get to, basically just getting through things a little differently than I planned on it, but it means I don't have to travel as far. It doesn't mean I have to spend as many years taking school, and I can potentially get out of it much quicker. But I still have to get that far, and that means I have to finish this year out, and then I can go over there. So potentially during the summer, things might slow down, or they might speed up. I don't know, but they're likely going to slow down, and I'm not going to be streaming over the summer, probably from the time school ends to next fall, but I have to see. I don't have an exact point of reference of when or where semester starts for when I change things up. So we'll try it, but there's no guarantees right now. I got to go into a couple programs I wasn't expecting to, but we'll definitely work with the punches as they come, and we'll see what we can do. But yeah, with that in mind, I did want to just kind of make sure that this update was in the video, that that it was understood that I'm trying to make better content and keep things working as best I can. But there's no guarantee right now that I'm going to be able to put that updated content out as fast as I'd like it to, as much as I want it to, because I'm dealing with life, which comes first. And because, again, this channel's for fun. This isn't a job. This is more of a hobby that I'm having fun with, and because of that, I just want to be able to keep up with the content. But it might be slow. It might not be immediately feasible. So we'll see. But yeah, that kind of covers everything. I hope I don't have to make another little update segment. But yeah, we'll call it here, and hopefully I won't see you till next video, because I want this next video to be really good. But yeah, hopefully that covers everything.